let's build our first level. I need a new scene, so I'm going to go click on Godot to start with. Scene, new scene. In fact, I can use this 2D scene, and I do want a node 2D as my root node. Double click, and I'm going to call it level template, because what we're doing now is called prototyping. Okay, we're going to build a simple level, but nevertheless it's going to have all the features in it that we need to build our actual game levels. But we're keeping it simple for the time being because we want to wire up the game and make sure it's working, and for that we need a simple level because it speeds up the process. So a very short level, but in this level I am going to create the player, create the world, create the enemies, the hazard, the scoreboard, the collectibles, all of that. And then by the end, we will have a level that we can inherit from to do the fun stuff, to create our actual game levels. So that's my parent node. I'm going to click on this chain icon here. And this chain does exactly what it says here. It allows us to instantiate a child scene. So it will create an instance of the scenes that we've made before within our level. So we have made a few different scenes. We've made our player scene and we've made our blocks. So we're going to start with just a simple scene with the player moving around in a world created by the blocks. And that gives us the chance to check our player movement, work out what it can jump over, work out what it can't jump over, so on and so forth. Which we need to do to check that our game works the way we want it to work. So I'm going to click the chain. What do I want to instantiate? Well, first I want my player. I go back up to level template because I want the blocks to be children of the level, not of the player. And I click the chain icon again. And I want one of each of these blocks. So first we want block. Do it again. We want block 1. But look, I've done that wrong because I had block selected and not level template selected. Keep an eye on that. You can go really badly wrong. So just move it up like to the level template and it puts it in the correct place. So select level template, select the chain icon and block 2 scene and put that in. Immediately what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new node 2D. So click the plus, node 2D, and I'm going to double click and I'm just going to call it blocks. And I'm going to shift click the blocks, click and drag and just move them into this node 2D here. So then I've got a much tidier scene tree. Okay, all my blocks have been created in the same place. You'll see there block 1, block 2, block 3. Block 1, block 2 creates them all at the origin of the game, which is 0.0 in the corner of our viewport here. Okay, so that's a little bit awkward, but I should be able to move them. Yep, so that's block 2. So it draws them on top of each other. So my block 2 is the one at the top. Now, this can be awkward. So in order to help ourselves, this icon over here is useful. It says use grid snap. So if I click it, a grid appears and it's super handy for our purposes. If I want to configure my grid and configure snapping, click in on these 3 dots here and I go configure snap. And you can see we have a grid step of 8 pixels, which means that each of these small squares, if I cancel, each of these small squares is 8 pixels, and we have a big line every 8 small squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then a big line. So each of these big squares is 64 by 64, which is the same as our default block size, isn't it? So click and drag, and you'll see that snaps there nicely. Now we've got the grid configured. Click the next one. Now I could make the screen a bit bigger just to check. Doing it right. Put it in there. Then we've got block, bring it down. Make it a bit smaller. Bring it down. All right. So now you can see there I've got block selected. If I hold down Shift and select the other two, and then I go Control D or Command D, that duplicates them. Look, we've got a load more now. And they're still selected, so if I go click and drag, I've got another 3 there. Hold down Shift, click the next 3, Command D, and now I've got 6. Move them over there. Where's the edge of our world? Ah, yeah, so that blue line there is the edge of our viewport. So if we test the scene now, by clicking on the clapperboard, it wants us to save it. So we'll save it in levels. Click on levels, save. And now it should run it. And our character falls onto the ground. We can move our character left and right. Test out your movement controls. And see if you can jump. So that's good so far. Let's have a look at, let's try and see how high our character can jump. So I'm just going to click off the selected blocks, and I'm going to put one block. Click on this block here. Command D to duplicate it. Put it up one. See if we can jump over that. Well, we can certainly jump onto it. Yeah, and we can jump over it. So one block is fine. Let's duplicate it again. Command D. See if we can jump over 2 blocks. Test out the level. So we can't jump over 2 blocks. We can only jump over 1 block. Okay, now we know that. I'm happy with that, but if you want to play around with the settings, simply open the default player scene. So where are we? Down here, characters, player. Open the whole scene and then go to script. So you can change the movement speed here, and you can change the jump velocity here. You can even change gravity by going into project settings, and it's in 2D physics in project settings. Let's just show you that. Project settings, should be physics, 2D, and then we've got default gravity 980. So you can mess around with all of these values and get your player moving how you want your player to move. I'm going to close down the player scene, and I'm just going to spend the rest of this section making a slightly bigger level for our player. So I'm going to select both of these blocks. I'm going to click and drag them to the end, and I'm going to Command D to duplicate them, and I'm going to build a little wall at the end. I'm going to shift click these 3, Command D, build a little platform to walk on. I'm going to come down here and make a little pit for my player to fall into. So Command D, click and drag. Just make it a bit bigger so I can see what I'm doing. Click and drag. Command D, click and drag. Command D, click and drag. Command D, click and drag. Command D again, do that. Command D again, click and drag, and build another little wall up here, I think. Command D, click and drag. Command D, click and drag. All right. Now, instead of running the scene itself, I'm going to configure this as my main game scene. So if I click on play the project, it will say no main scene has been defined, select one. You can change it later in project settings. So I'm going to say select current. Now, our scene will play when we click this icon up here. But you'll see our player can wander off the screen and we can't see it anymore. So we have to put a camera on the player so we can follow it around the game. And we will do that in the next section. I hope to see you there.